Good afternoon. Welcome to the House Appropriations Committee. I'm Delegate Maggie McIntosh, Chair, here along with Delegate Mark Chang, who's the Vice Chair, and our committee members. Today is April 1st, 2021, and we're not going to pull any April Fool's jokes on anyone. We're just going to move right into our Senate bill hearings. Today we have a number of bills that were not cross files. So we're going to hear from the sponsor or their designee of those bills. And we're going to begin with Senate Bill 927, which is Senator Penske. Senator Penske, welcome to the Appropriations Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's great to be here in front of the committee. Thank you very much. A couple of years ago, we passed a bill that prohibited paying a commission to a recruiter based on an incentive payment when they were going after students who would receive federal aid. This was particularly a problem with the for-profits. They'd go after working and poor folks who they knew would get federal aid, and then they may or may not be successful in providing an education, and a lot of these students would be left high and dry. And it was really harming a lot of students in our state and across the country for that matter. We were one of the early states to say, you can't do that. We don't want headhunters to just fatten the coffers of some of these for-profit institutions. So we put that in place. It was a good policy. The legislature passed it. The prohibition, unfortunately, had a few unintended consequences like some of our actions do. So for an institution, and I'm going to use UN Global Campus or Hopkins, they sometimes use recruiters in foreign countries, for example, in Indonesia, where they can't send people on a regular basis to alert people to what we can offer them here in Maryland at their institutions. And these are our students they recruit are not, so this is not a headhunter to fatten the coffers, because the for-profits had no skin in the game. They would just basically bring the student in using federal aid, and they didn't feel any commitment or guarantee to these students. So a number of institutions came to me and said, look, we understand your purpose. You don't want people going after our poor and working families just to get the student aid for tuition, but it's limiting what we can do outside of the United States. So the bill before you essentially says, if the student can't receive U.S. federal aid, you can recruit them. So that's what the bill does. It gives another opportunity for institutions that are recruiting students outside of the country to do that recruiting and hire people on contract in other countries. That's the bill. And
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions of the sponsor? No questions.
Okay.
How about that? You did a good job of explaining the bill, and we thank you. We do have, by the way, written testimony that you should have. And it's from, I'm sure, Mikua. And I think I have, I think I remember seeing other written testimony. Of course, here we go. Yes, University of Maryland, Baltimore County also has submitted written testimony. Okay, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, get some rest, okay? All right, well, no, after you pass all of the House bills, you can get some rest. How's that?
Well, I'm not sure we want to go there. There are a couple major bills from the Senate in the House that are under considerable scrutiny. So let's have a conversation on that one.
All right, good. That's a conversation for Monday, I think.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Have a great day. Is Senator Smith here or his designee?
We have not seen Senator Smith, but Senator Quarterman is in.
Okay, Senator Quarterman. We'll move to Senate Bill 926. Economic Development, Maryland Stadium Authority, Hagerstown Multi-Use Sports and Events Facility. Welcome back to the committee. Senator
Thank you, Madam
Quarterman.
Chair. It's good to be back. And members of the committee, I appreciate you having me here today. It's with great pleasure and enthusiasm I return to discuss an exciting opportunity that's been in the making for many years, including the time that I served on this committee. Again, for the record, Senator Paul Quarterman, District 2 of Washington County, to present Senate Bill 926. This bill would add the Hagerstown Multi-Use Sports and Events Facility as identified project for the Maryland Stadium Authority. The facility will provide significant economic impact and revitalization in an area of our community that is desperately in need, providing a variety of growth and development opportunities that would otherwise not exist. The facility is part of a much larger project. This facility would be the anchor, but it's really about the potential of about 4 to 5 projects. All these projects complement and feed off of each other, and they provide the investor confidence needed to spur the massive economic development that we have seen in other like situated communities. The General Assembly and the Maryland Stadium Authority have been engaged in this project since 2018, completing the Phase 1 market and feasibility study. They've also most recently completed the Phase 2 facility and pre-design. The addition of this project to the Maryland Stadium Authority's portfolio would solidify potential of upwards of $100 million of additional investment in an impoverished area of our community. I do have a few slides I wanted to show here real quick, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if I can figure out how to share my
Well,
screen.
you know, you're going to be more techno.
Well, you know, I'm trying here, so just bear with me one
Okay.
second. I think it should be, there we go. It should be it right here.
Yeah.
All right. So those who've been to Hagerstown before, this is our downtown right here, right on the square. The facility will be about 1 block from here. I spoke about the areas of greatest need. Our core is an area of our community that is an area of greatest need. This shows a couple of things here. Things that stick out: the growth has been pretty stagnant. The median house income is under 20,000. 2 of our most impoverished areas of the entire community are directly in the center of this community. The next slide here shows basically where the location we've been targeting here is right in downtown. The goals remain the same for this project. It's to bring people downtown, attracting thousands of people into our core, providing opportunities in an area that's greatly and desperately in need. We looked at 3 different areas. This is a ballpark in North Carolina. They lost a large factory, had about 4,300 workers. They constructed a new facility. They brought over $130 million of investment right around there. Another one in High Point, North Carolina, same thing. They've constructed new facilities, brought over $100 million worth of development. And then lastly, here's a third one in Carolina. It was the Urban Institute of Charlotte did a study here. That's where we pulled these from. Same thing, brought in hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. Lastly, Fort Wayne, Indiana, they've had almost $700 million of investment around their facility. In 2012, Ripken Design was commissioned by the city of Hagerstown to target and look at some of the market tax assessments that have happened before and after facilities have been constructed. This shows some of the trends that were prior to construction, and after, as you'll see, you have 3 to 4 times the amount of increase in assessments. A drill down on Greenville showed massive increase in the residential and commercial. And then they translated that to Hagerstown itself, where you see the bottom line is orange. We've been relatively stagnant, and it's estimated to be a 3-fold increase in assessments within a quarter mile of this new facility, again, located right in downtown Hagerstown. The public square box on the upper right-hand corner is where that picture was you saw at the beginning. It kind of gives you a reference of where this facility would be. The city of Hagerstown has committed an $8 million parking and infrastructure project right next door. This is much more than just baseball. It's a year-round facility. It'd be used for multiple things. The gentleman in York, Pennsylvania says it best when we visited that facility. It's all about hospitality. Baseball just happens to happen there, but it's much more than that. It's about community. It's about bringing people together, high school sporting events, concerts, etc. The project fits well with the plan. Our community's past planning efforts, our 2008 comprehensive plan, sustainable communities plan, and strategic plan. It all fits within those plans. In addition to an area that was targeted for growth back in 2006, all within that same footprint. Lastly, the 2035 Vision Hagerstown, which is the most recent comprehensive plan, laid out 4 strategies for our core of downtown Hagerstown, all of which this project accomplishes. The project will be located, as I said, right in downtown Hagerstown. You see here the various parking that's located nearby. And that's the beauty of all this. It will have people come out and go through the streets of downtown Hagerstown, be able to support our businesses, retail, restaurants, et cetera, and be able to support the growth of downtown Hagerstown. It fits within the our A&E district, along with our Partners in Progress investment zone. Lastly, here, as far as opportunity zones, there's only 2 opportunity zones in Washington County, one in Williamsport, which has been by the C&O Canal, which our committee has been very generous and supportive of that in the past. Lastly, here is the right in downtown Hagerstown. It's right in the center of the opportunity zone in Hagerstown, and along with the enterprise zone. So back to the bill. Again, this would have the project be a part of the Maryland Stadium Authority, and then the facility will be maintained and managed by our local industrial foundation. Point of note there with the industrial foundation is we understand that these projects can sometimes end up being a burden. And so the bill has been crafted and constructed in a way that we will set up our own capital investment fund, and we won't be coming back here for anything else after that. We will manage it, we will take care of it, and we will do any type of enhancements, renovations, things of that nature in the future. Lastly, here's some distribution of some of the Stadium Authority's projects throughout the state. We see this as a great opportunity for Western Maryland and the Stadium Authority to partner in a project that would be worthwhile and beneficial to the entire state. Again, the project has been supported by many different individuals. You'll see a lot of different submissions that were put into the testimony from local organizations, including Secretary Schultz in Commerce, the chair of the Stadium Authority, Tom Kelso. The bill passed out of B&T unanimously and out of the Senate floor unanimously. So with that, we thank you for your consideration and respectfully would ask for a favorable report.
Good. Thank you very much. And you have a very large hand up with a question. Delegate Corm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to compliment the staff for scheduling this hearing for opening day. I mean, well done on the time.
Yeah.
Second, Senator, I'm wondering if you can identify what's on my hand.
I see that. I see that as a Hagerstown Sons. That is was our team here for many years. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for the bill, Senator. Thank you, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
You're welcome. Okay. Delegate Solomon has a question.
Senator Quarterman, it's good to see you. I had a question for you. If we're able to get Mark Rail to Hagerstown, will this allow more people to be able to go to events at this hopefully new ballpark? Like maybe
Absolutely. And we've gotten
Yes.
we got some progress on that end also. So we're excited for both these opportunities. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
You're welcome. Okay, I see no further questions. Thank you for coming back over across the street and presenting your bill. And thank you for all the support you're going to give us for all our bills over there on your side.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All
you.
right, have a great day. We also have written testimony, by the way, from the Maryland Stadium Authority that you should have. So thank you. And that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 926. Is Chairman Smith, has he arrived yet? No, okay.
Ma'am. We do not have Senator Patterson yet. However, we do have Senator Ellis.
Senator Ellis. All right, let's move to Senator Ellis' bill. Senator Ellis is going to be presenting Senate Bill 308. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and
Thank you.
committee members. Good to be with you, even though it's virtual. Senate Bill 308 is Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship eligibility. I have a little presentation. I'd love to share my screen with you.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, the Maryland Higher Education Community College Promise Scholarship. We put in a bill to help a lot of individuals who were impacted by the pandemic, who lost their jobs, employment, and the like, to help them to get back to school and to retrain, get a different career. And so this bill, what's left of it is basically taken out the age requirement for or the time requirement for when people graduate from high school in order to get the promised scholarship. So the purpose of this bill is to provide that applicants who graduate from high school 5 or more years before the date of application and not be required to meet a certain grade point average to be eligible for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship. Imagine being out of high school for 15, 20, 30 years, and you want to go back to the community college to say, become a truck driver or anything like that, or a nurse. This basically, you don't have to go back to the high school and get all those documents. So students must apply annually to the Maryland Higher Education Commission to receive this award. Eligible applicants who are selected and offered an award can use the tuition at a community college in Maryland of their choice. And this, of course, is the Promise Scholarship. In order to qualify as scholarship, students must be eligible for in-state tuition, of course, enroll in at least 12 credit hours, sequence, register apprenticeship program is good for also, and of course, do their FAFSA. Any applicants who receive any other educational grants or scholarships that cover full tuition are ineligible. Additional applicants who have already earned a bachelor's or associate's degree are ineligible. So this is all for the Promise Scholarship. Students can have ease of mind knowing they can still attend college even if their grade point average is below par from high school days. Because, in high school, so many students don't know where they're going. Their GPA might not be that good. And they're mature now, say in their whatever, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they want to go back to school. So this bill allowed it very easy for them to do that. And we have some reference there for your pleasurable reading. So with that simple bill, okay, let me get back on screen. Simple bill, which make it easier for, say, adult learners to return to community college and to qualify for this Promise Scholarship. With that, Madam Chair and committee members, I ask for your favorable approval of Senate Bill 308.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the sponsor? I see none. Thank you very much, Senator. Get
Great, thank you.
depressed, okay?
Well, it's brutal. And we have another bill, I think, on your committee.
You do?
Senate Bill 663, I believe.
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Let me see.
664, excuse me, 664.
Yes, you do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
May I please present that same time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. that's
Go right
fine.
ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I have another presentation. I'd like to share my screen, please.
That's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, okay, thank you for your patience.
That's all right.
As you know, we're running on fumes over here in the Senate.
Yeah.
1 o'clock, very close to 1 o'clock last night and up for this morning. So thank you for your patience, committee members.
You're welcome.
Yeah, again, for the record, Arthur Ellis representing District 28, Charles County in the Senate of Maryland. And here to present before you today is Senate Bill 664, which is the Student Financial Aid Outreach Plan and Advisory Committee. So I must say, I must thank your committee member, Delegate Solomon, for really doing a lot of heavy lifting on this bill, getting us a lot of support, a lot of witnesses, and it just Chairman Pinsky loved the bill and was determined to move something through the Senate this year. And so we put together a pretty good package that will really move the needle. Not as much as Delegate Solomon and I would like, but you know what? It's incremental change, and I think this bill will kind of move the needle for many students in our high school. So this bill, Senate Bill 664, Educational Student Financial Aid Outreach Plan and Advisory Committee. The purpose of this bill is to require that each county board of education encourage and assist high school students to complete and submit financial aid forms. Additionally, this bill requires each county board to develop an outreach plan. The outreach plan must include the following: participation in the Maryland College application campaign, financial aid nights, they have to fill out the FAFSA or MISFA, FAFSA Federal Free Application for Student Aid, and the Maryland Financial Aid Form, MISFA. So you have a description of the partnerships with community colleges or four-year institutions and nonprofit institution, with description of the county's student awareness campaign about the FAFSA and the MISFA, and then plans to ensure that members of underserved populations receive the necessary information, support, and assistance. Remember, this is all to help high school students who are, say, seniors, to find out about the financial aid opportunities available to them. Because right now we have, in some counties, upwards of 60% in some schools not aware, 6% of students not aware of the financial aid available to them. And I think one advocate used a number upwards of $2.9 billion in, I guess, Pell Grants is still left on the table, not claimed each year. I was going to say BEOG grant. That dates my college years, right? Going back a long time, but Pell Grants. So a lot of money is still on the table because students are not filling out these forms. So this bill will encourage high school students again to work with the school and community groups to fill out the FAFSA and MISFA. So members of the advisory committee, this bill includes the advisory committee to develop the plans to really get students all over the state of Maryland to fill out the FAFSA. Members of the advisory committee will include school counselors, administrators, and district personnel, college and all high school students, community-based college assistant organizations, and financial aid enrollment or other relevant officials from four-year institutions, community colleges, etc. I will say great proponents of this bill are community colleges. They want these students to come with money to school, money that's available now on the table and that's not being claimed. I know my community college president, College of Southern Maryland president, Dr. Maureen Murphy, initially contacted me about this bill and to work with Delegate Solomon and others to really get this in. And so she's she's a great proponent of this bill, Dr. Murphy from College of Southern Maryland. What will the advisory committee do? The advisory committee will work to assist county boards in the objective of increasing FAFSA, to assess and develop recommendations on the adequacy of current scholarship funding and discuss FAFSA and MASTA submission process and analyze data from county boards and make recommendations to Maryland Higher Education Commission. Why is this bill important? I want to thank my staff for coming up with this, my intern and chief of staff, this great presentation. Why is this bill important? Many low-income students do not apply for financial aid, but would qualify for it. This bill is important because it would increase the chances that more low-income students attend colleges after graduation. This bill would significantly benefit lower and middle-income students in helping them to really get these monies available to them for college. Like I mentioned earlier, it is estimated that the class of 2018 missed out on $2.6 billion in Pell Grants. Oops, I said 2.9, so it's off by 0.3 billion, but forgive me for that. 2.6 billion in Pell Grants they missed last year because eligible students did not submit the form. And of course, the cost of college alone should not be a barrier to bright futures for many low-income students. Making these forms a requirement will be a step towards closing the gap between high school and higher educational achievement. So I must say a little correction. We won't require them to fill out these forms. We took that out of the original bill. So it's not really a requirement. It's we work with them to basically do this on a planned voluntary basis. And our data is shared with a lot of, how should I say, references here and for your pleasurable reading later on. Okay, so let me come out of this screen here, please, and get back on camera. With that, Madam Chair and committee members, I urge your favorable support for Senate Bill 664 and the new title, Education, Students Financial Aid Outreach Plan and Advisory Committee. And thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Senator Ellis, for presenting Senate Bill 664. The committee will now take questions. Delegate Carol Crim is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator, for allowing us to discuss this program you've brought forward. But I must ask you, isn't this the duty of school counselors to reach out to the students in high school to make sure that they're getting the support they need in order to qualify for these grants? And I'm just making a suggestion here. If the school counselors had work groups or work sessions with high school students in which they could all fill out the forms together, so to speak, or they could provide direction. But, you know, I think some of this responsibility belongs to the school counselor. So I'll ask for your response.
That's an excellent question, Delegate. Excellent question. It is the responsibility of the counselors to do this. But you know what? The counselors are spread thin, very thin in our schools in Maryland. I mean, I don't have the exact recommended number that they should be counselor per student, but no, the number is far exceeds the ratio of what it should be. And the counselors have so many responsibilities, very much a lot of responsibilities. And so they cannot humanly possible do this. And of course, the school system don't have the funds with all the demands on them right now for mental health counselors and for all these other different support personnel. And so the counselors, it's their duty. My counselor helped me to do this from high school, yes. But right now they're spread so thin, they cannot really achieve this. So what we do is we're bringing in the community. We're bringing in the community colleges and the advisory committee, and we're helping the counselors. And we're developing a plan to really reach the underserved population. So you're 100% right. In an ideal world, the counselors would do this. But right now they have so many duties. The students have so many needs, and it's just really beyond their scope.
Thank you.
Delegate Valentina Smith is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you to the sponsor of the bill. And in the form of a question, I guess what I want to add is, having helped 2 kids get ready for college, that it is a full-time job, not only for the parents and the child, but for the schools. And that, isn't it so, Senator, that we are likely not to even recognize the full benefits of all the money we're putting in to Kerwin and the blueprint if we don't immediately recognize the need to put additional resources into high school counselors and their ratios and making sure these forms are done, because it is the only bridge and way to get to college. And it is a full-time job for any parent or any student, but anyone from a single parent home, a home that is non-English speaking, or has not had a family member go to college. You need not only the FAFSA form, you need a full-time counselor to make it in.
Yeah,
Isn't
and that is so true, Delegate. And you know, the thing is, I'm a first-time college student. You know, my families are my mom, dad, immigrants to this country. I didn't have a clue, but I really lucked out. I had great counselor in high school who reached out to me and say, hey, you're a great student. These opportunities are here for you. And without that, I don't know where I would be now, you know? And so going back a couple of years ago, in my district, there was a unaccompanied homeless student, high school student, great student, good grades, no parents, no guardians, homeless. He applied to St. Mary's College of Maryland, got in. Hey, great, smart kid. Without a financial aid package, didn't apply FAFSA, no application. And so Delegate Crosby, the delegate in that district, reached out to myself and Delegate Davis and Patterson and Delegate Wilson, all represented a student from Charles County. And we put together a package for him. He got into school, he filled out his FAFSA, he's fully funded. I think he's in his third year now, doing great. But we need to reach out to students like that, who might not even have parents, who might even have that opportunity to know about the financial aid available to them. And this is what this bill will do. We'll bring more of the private community colleges, four-year schools into the schools to work with the high schools to really help these students.
Thank you, Senator. And you can run right back over to the Senate and get them to pass House Bill 216, and we'll pass Senate Bill 155, which is the tuition exemption for homeless students.
So which bill is that now? Please, I'll write that down.
House Bill 216 and Senate Bill 155. Our committee will take care of it here. You guys over there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have my marching orders.
The Vice Chairman of the Education Economic Development Subcommittee, Delegate Solomon, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Ellis, for being here. I just wanted to say, I know there might have been a little bit of confusion. So we had put, Delegate Rosenberg and I had put in a pre-filed bill earlier last year that actually was referred to Ways and Means, and then we've been working with Senator Ellis and the folks in EHE, and so when the bill came out of the Senate, the changes actually made the bill come over to Appropriations. So we've spent a lot of time working on this since last fall. So if members have questions, I just wanted to say I'm fully able to, we've worked hand in glove with the folks on EHE to get the bill where it is now, and happy to talk. Spent a lot of time with advocates as well. Wanted to just let my colleagues know that I'm happy to have follow-up conversations and go through any concerns that there may be as well.
Thank you, Delegate.
The gentleman from Eastern Shore is recognized, Delegate Grice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a follow-up to Delegate Krim's question, I mean, obviously, if the guidance counselors and that department in each of these high schools are really truly doing their job, they would have established a relationship with all the students in their school. And I would hope that every one of the high schools in our state would have a relationship with all of our community colleges as well. And I would hope that our community colleges would be in our high schools already. So I guess my question is, if we're going to spend, $32 billion over the next 10 years in new funding for our K through 12, why do we want to create an entirely new program instead of using that $32 billion to help supplement our guidance programs so that way we can reach each and every one of these students. And I can tell you that I would hope that these students who are going to go to college are smart kids, and hopefully they're ambitious. And obviously we're talking about responsibility of the school, but there's also personal responsibility, for those students and also their families to go out there and look under every stone as well. I mean, I remember going to college, and I remember going to the library and looking through all these books of all these different scholarships at the same time. So I guess my question is it really necessary to create a new program, especially when we're going to spend tens of billions of dollars, more over the next decade, that's intended on, reinforcing and making our K through 12 education system even better?
Well, that's a question that is from the 54,000 feet level, right? Looking down huge. I'm not sure I can answer that and give the justice to that high level question that it deserves. But I just think that we need to do everything we can to help these students. Because like I mentioned earlier, yeah, we spend a lot of money on education, but the systems are stretched thin when it comes to guidance counselors to really help students with financial aid going to college, okay? And so that's a fact. I would love to say that we have maybe 3 times as many guidance counselors as we need. I wish we could say we have more than we need, and each guidance counselor can really mentor each student, and know each student by name. I wish that is possible, but right now that's not the reality. So what we try to do, we try to help with the situation we have. And our community colleges are ready to step in and to work with our high schools. And our high schools are ready to embrace them, to come in to really help in this area. So the thing is, what government cannot do a lot of times, the community does. You know, it takes a village. You know, we don't always have to say, let the government do it. Let's hire so many more folks. And if we can't, we don't have the money for it because the need is so great, well, we do nothing. This bill will allow us to do something on a more formal basis.
Thank you very much, Senator Ellis. Delegate Christ, thank you very much for the question. Committee, there's additional information in the bill file regarding this bill. Delegate Novotny, if there are additional questions, if you could please reach out to the bill sponsor or do the research in the bill file, and we can follow up appropriately with any questions you may have. At this time, this ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 664. The committee will now move to Senate Bill 909. Senator Smith, Capital Projects Minority Business Enterprise Goals. Senator Smith, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for being here. Please proceed when you're ready.
Hey, Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you for everyone. So Madam Chair, or Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee, good to see you this afternoon. For the record, Senator Smith here to present Senate Bill 909. So this idea was actually born out of a work group that was chaired by Senator Griffith, which was the Senate President's work group on equity and inclusion. So a little bit of background. Current law does not subject capital projects by non-state entities that receive state grants of $3 million or more to the MBE participation requirements. So the state spends around $129 million each year on these types of projects. So what this bill does, as amended by the committee, is that it splits it into two components. First, it requires the Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, prior to the release of state funds for a grant of over $3 million, to conduct an analysis for subcontracting opportunities for MBEs and to establish subcontracting goals for those opportunities depending on the capacity of the MBEs in the county where the project is located. And then second, it establishes a reporting requirement that on or before July 31st, each year the department has to submit an annual report to the governor that describes how many projects in the program were subjected to a waiver and why. So with that, and looking at the fiscal note, the updated fiscal note with that $3 million threshold, it's around 10 to 12 projects each year, a relatively small number, but you got to start somewhere. So with that, I'll ask the committee for a favorable report and stand by for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Are there any questions for Chairman Smith regarding Senate Bill 909? Seeing none, thank you very much, Chairman Smith, for being here. There's additional information in the bill file. Have a great day.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure. See you all later.
Next, the committee will move on to Senate Bill 127, Senator Patterson, Institutional Higher Education, Use of Criminal History and Admissions Modifications. On behalf of Senator Patterson, we have CJ Jackson, who is the Chief of Staff, presenting the bill. Chief of Staff Jackson, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greetings, Mr. Chair, members of the House Appropriations Committee. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce Senate Bill 127. On behalf of Senator Patterson, for the record, my name is Clayton CJ Jackson, his Chief of Staff. This bill was introduced previously in the 2020 session before we were all preempted by the COVID-19 emergency. Senate Bill 127 this year, as amended, seeks to prevent colleges and universities from using a third-party admissions application to deny an applicant from being admitted into an institution based on their criminal history. Through and after an offer of admissions is made, this bill would allow a college or university to develop a process in which they may inquire into one's criminal background to be used for the purposes of determining or restricting access to campus residency as it relates to convictions of Title III crimes and Title 14 crimes. Institutions would be permitted to make an inquiry into criminal background regarding campus residency in general for the purposes of providing counseling or rehabilitative services. During the witness testimony, we heard from Dr. Andrees, who's a scientist at Johns Hopkins University, who testified that 60% of college applicants seeking to better themselves are kicked out of the process automatically after checking the box of criminal history. This would bring these individuals back into the fold. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, more than 70 million Americans have a criminal history. Why are we continuing to deny them an education? If we're concerned with reducing recidivism and enabling individuals to becoming contributing members of society, we should end this outdated practice. Therefore, I and Senator Patterson does respectfully request a favorable vote for Senate Bill 127. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chief of Staff. Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Jackson regarding Senate Bill 127? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 127. We'll next move on to Senate Bill 732, Senator Patterson, Economic Development Maryland Innovation Initiative University Partnership Pilot Program Establishment. On behalf of Senator Patterson, we have Chief of Staff CJ Jackson presenting the bill. Mr. Chief of Staff, please proceed when you're ready.
Sir, if you can give us one moment, the senator is actually arriving and he has 732.
Thank you very much. Senator Patterson, please.
Yes, I had,
Senate Bill 732.
okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience here. I had 5 of these things within the same hour, but thank you, members of.
You're welcome. Your Chief of Staff's covered the other bills, so please proceed.
Right. Okay, thank you, members of the budget, not budget and taxation.
Appropriations Committee.
Budget and Appropriations.
Take your time, Senator. Take your time.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce Senate Bill 732. Senate Bill 732 is before you today as a result of my serving as a member of the President's work group looking at wealth, inclusion, health disparities, and perhaps 1 or 2 other areas. And out of that work group came Senate Bill 732. Basically, the bottom line of this bill is really to provide an opportunity for those colleges and universities that are not a part of the entrepreneur partnership to be able to participate in this program. Currently, the schools that are already participating, Johns Hopkins University, Morgan State University, University of Maryland, Baltimore, University of Maryland, Baltimore, the University of Maryland and College Park. So what we're trying to just expand the playing field, if you will, to ensure that we can provide the same or similar opportunity to those schools who are not active in the program as of today. And primarily, this program is geared toward those institutions that have some research components that will allow them to actively participate in this program. And we had a very good dialogue working 2 or 3 months on this particular project and 7 others. And I'm just delighted to present it to you today. There were no opposition to this bill, and ask for a favorable response on Senate Bill 732.
Thank you very much, Senator, for presenting Senate Bill 732. The committee will now take questions. Delegate Beitzel is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, this pertains to Bowie State and Frostburg.
Yes.
Is this elective, or in other words, they choose to, even if the bill would pass, can they choose not to do this?
They have an option to decline if they would. In fact, we had one institution, Salisbury State University, who originally was a part of this bill, and they just didn't think that they could come up with the $50 million and therefore would not be able to participate in the program.
Right.
But we were primarily trying to find universities that had some research components, but also those who had not been a part of the process in the past.
Is it 50 million or 50,000?
I think it's 50. I think it's 50 million. Was it 50 million or 50,000?
It says 50,000 in the fiscal note.
Okay,
That would-
50,000 sound more, 50,000 sound a little bit more reasonable.
All right, thank you, Senator.
I think you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Senator Ellis regarding Senator Patterson regarding Senate Bill 732? Seeing none, that ends the hearing for Senate Bill 732. Thank you, Senator Patterson, for being here. Next, the committee, Senate Bill 376, Senator Kagan, Maryland Nonprofit Development Center Program, Nonprofit Interest Fee, Microbridge Loan Account Funding. Senator Kagan, thank you very much for being here. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations on your new slot. Colleagues, great to see you all. For the record, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. You all know that in every legislative district in the state, there are important nonprofits that make a difference every day. They're about 10% of our workforce and 12% of our state's economy. And yet they struggle, especially during the pandemic. In 2017, we passed NIMBLE, which is an acronym for Nonprofit Interest-Free Micro-Bridge Loan. The original plan was to have $1 million and have a revolving loan just for nonprofits who have in writing guaranteed grants or contracts from federal, state, county, or municipal governments. As you all know, sometimes those payments can be delayed, and too often the nonprofits have to spend the money before they get reimbursed by government. That makes it a challenge for making payroll or paying rent or even buying the products they need to complete their mission or project. So along with the Department of Commerce, and I want to give a shout out to them because they've been wonderful partners, we did launch NIMBLE, even though most of the money was taken away when it was needed for FY18. But Henry Bogdan, who's with us today from Maryland Nonprofits, was able to identify a little bit, and with that, we launched NIMBLE. Nonprofits across the state have benefited. They have gotten money, again, up to $25K, and returned it as soon as their government funds have come through. But there has been a shortfall, and there is a waiting list. And the whole point of this program being NIMBLE is quick turnaround, low bar to entry, quick turnaround, make the funds available, and then repay the funds so that they're available for the next nonprofit. First off, I encourage you to make sure that nonprofits in your district know about this. And second, the Department of Commerce created a marketing program that they've been a little bit reluctant to launch for fear that there would be a long line and more demand even than is now. So this bill, as amended, simply sets aside $250,000 for FY23. We are working on fencing off and identifying some more funding for FY22. And if any of you have any suggestions or can help with that, that would be great. It doesn't take much, but it has a huge impact for our nonprofits and the services they provide. So Henry Bogdan is here. And I just want to thank you for your attention. Hope that you will approve more funding for NIMBLE next fiscal year. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Senator Kagan, for presenting Senate Bill 376. And Mr. Bogdan, thank you very much for being here. The committee will now take questions. Delegate Christ recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this program has been in place, how many of these nonprofits have defaulted on any of these loans?
Defaulted, 0.
None. Okay, good. Thank
you. Delegate Christ. So the just to be clear, the funding is not, we have our annual gala coming up and or the Smith Foundation always gives us this money. It's only confirmed government grants or contracts. As soon as that money comes in, it goes straight back into the fund, which is why this is one-time funding. It's a revolving loan fund. And so the money never goes away. It just sometimes the funding can be delayed. Sometimes it could be a month, but it might be 4 or 5 months. But the money goes straight back into the fund. So glad for the question.
Are there any other questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, that ends the hearing for Senate Bill 376. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just a reminder, I think we got permission for Henry Bogdan to add any words if you guys have another couple minutes.
Committee counsel?
Yeah, they let us know that he would be here. So
Thank you very much, Committee counsel. Mr. Bogdan, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Henry Bogdan. I'm the Public Policy Director for Maryland Nonprofits. The Senator explained the background of the bill and the funding. I just want to point out that one of the main points she made was we haven't been able to really promote this program because when an organization needs this money, it needs it quickly. I had to tell an organization that last year was kind of a throwaway year for all of this, but I've had to tell an organization that, well, you could use this program, but at the time I understood that Commerce had 2 other people waiting. And so that means essentially you're not going to be able to do much. The program with the current level of funding can only put out 7 loans at a time. So we would really like to be able to move this program closer to scale. There are serious delays at times. There were a number of organizations, I understand, in one of the large counties this past year who had to wait 6 months even to get signed contracts before they get invoiced, but they were supposed to be delivering services from July 1. There have been programs in the past where in-school programs supposed to start with school in September. The providers of services weren't able to draw funds until January or February. This means essentially that smaller nonprofits simply can't afford to even apply for those kinds of grants. There's one agency that if you have a grant under $50,000, they only let you bill quarterly. That means you're going to upfront 4 to 5 months of that cost. That simply is not getting participation from nonprofits who should be able to deliver these services. I think that's all I can add, and I appreciate the committee's time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bogdan, for your testimony. Thank you very much again, Senator Kagan, for being here. Are there any other questions from members of the Appropriations Committee regarding this bill? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 76. Next, the committee will move on to Senate Bill 680. Senator Jennings, State Retirement and Pension Systems Administration and Benefits Clarification. Senator Jennings, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Senator Jennings, on behalf of Senate Bill 680. This is a very simple bill. It's very heavily focused, dealing with certain individuals. Quick background, this is not the first time we've had to deal with this with our pension system. We did it in 2019 on House Bill 62, dealing with former employees of the school system who were in the pension system that have come back and work for or are now on the school boards. This bill, we work very closely with the Maryland State Retirement and Pension System with Ann Gothrop, who I believe is online too, if you have questions. Dealing with one individual in my case, but then also Congressman Steny Hoyer's office reached out with a constituent they had on there. And it deals with simply with in-service distribution, where you're not allowed to work for the system, retire, collect the money, and then stay in the system continuing working. What we're dealing with in this bill is 2 individuals that did what was called deferred vested retirement, where they retired before their retirement age. They had enough in-service credit so that when they reach retirement age, they could collect a retirement. Since that time, they've come back to the school system to work on a part-time basis, but they are no longer in the pension system. They cannot accrue more time in the pension system. And it's just a clarifying bill to deal with that for these individuals that are back working for the school system, providing the extended or exponential amount of expertise they've got. So with that, I move favorable and ask for favorable consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator, and thank you, Ms. Gothrop, for being here. The Appropriations Committee will now take questions. Delegate Novotny is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Jennings, so as you described this, it sounds like you're closing a loophole in something that might actually discourage people to join any of these jobs that are out there at this point. Is that correct?
It is. These are done on a very narrow focus when they have these issues. Anne deals with it a lot. She's worked very closely with us on it. You don't want to make it too broad because it's going to mess up the pension system, but it's you're coming in, you're finding individuals. In fact, the one gentleman, he's teaching part-time as a driving instructor for the county school system. And, he's not allowed to collect his pension while he's doing that. So he'd have to give up that job. So yeah, it's just very focused on.
Seems like an excellent bill, Senator Jennings. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Delegate Krim is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if you don't mind, Senator, can I ask Ann a question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's here.
And how is the Maryland State Retirement Agency supportive of this legislation?
Let me put it this way. We are not taking a position on this bill.
We can't hear you very well.
I am not, is this better? I'll talk louder. Can you hear me now?
Okay. No.
We are not taking a position on this bill, but we worked very carefully and closely with the senator's office on the language in the bill so that it was something we could work with and something we could administer.
Okay, thank you.
So we do not have a problem with the bill.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the Appropriations Committee regarding Senate Bill 680? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator, for being here, and thank you, Ms. Goff, for being here. That ends the bill here.
Thank you.
Bill 680. Next, the committee will move on to Senate Bill 901, Senator Hester, Public Safety, Emergency Management, Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund. On behalf of Senator Hester, we have joining us today, Mr. Nathan Venkatraman, who is the Chief of Staff. Mr. Chief of Staff, please proceed when you're ready.
Thanks so much, Chair Chang, and members of the Appropriations Committee. I have a short presentation for you here that I'll just queue up. Okay, so thank you once again for your consideration of Senate Bill 901 to establish the Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund. This is a very simple bill, and I'm hoping I can explain to you a little bit of the interplay with our federal funds here today. So over the past 2 years, Senator Hester has had the honor of serving District 9, which includes, of course, Ellicott City. The experience of our constituents living through 2,000-year floods over the course of 2 years has been one of the greatest challenges we've ever faced as a community. But we're certainly not alone in the state of Maryland. Today, 81,000 Marylanders are at risk of coastal flooding. An additional 38,000 Marylanders are expected to be at risk by 2050, with a projected additional $19 billion in damages due to sea level rise and flooding in the same time frame. But the bottom line is this problem isn't just one-off. It's here to stay. It's getting worse, and there is a cost to doing nothing here. If we don't act, we are leaving vulnerable Marylanders at risk for a risk that we know is coming. So it can be daunting. With that being said, our wonderful emergency managers and all the people in the field have done a whole lot of work in this area. And if you talk to them, they will tell you every dollar invested in disaster mitigation saves $6 in avoided cost. Because investment in mitigation is just that. It's an investment, right? There's a real financial return. And there's also a return non-financially for the lives and livelihoods that are saved from a catastrophe that could sweep all of that away in a second. Just this year alone, the counties that are receiving capital budget funds or have applied for federal assistance for resilience-based projects include Calvert County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Garrett County, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, Dorchester County, Talbot County, Howard County. And I know there are other jurisdictions that are also facing capital needs here. So this bill is really about using our capital funds as effectively as possible and making sure that we're stretching them as far as possible. So this is what the fund does. It's a very simple fund. The purpose is to provide low or no interest loans to localities and state government to fund resilience projects. It's a special non-lapsing fund administered by the Maryland Emergency Management Agency, our administration, and MEMA is required to prioritize loans for projects it identifies to have the greatest impact on eliminating disasters, are hazards to the state. So very simple loan fund, but there is more here than meets the eye. And that's because of two federal programs that were initiated early last year. So first, the BRIC grant program, they began accepting applications from localities across the country, and they provide a 75-25 federal to state match for state and local resilience infrastructure projects. Additionally, we have the STORM Act, which was passed on January 1st of this year, providing a 90-10 federal to state match on revolving loan funds for resilience, much like the one contemplated in this bill. So FEMA as an agency has been moving towards this area of resilience and planning for a disaster for quite a while. This bill is specifically designed to take advantage of the federal funds that currently exist and make them go as far as possible for the people of Maryland. Utilizing the $25 million we've worked with the capital budget chair in the Senate to secure, the state can provide this fund with seed funding for $25 million and leverage $225 million in federal funds through the STORM Act to capitalize the revolving loan fund initially in its first year. Following that, you'll see in the uncodified language for the bill at the very end that we do direct the Maryland Emergency Management Administration to apply for BRIC grants using these fundings and to help localities do that. MEMA is already doing an incredible job in lining up these grant programs and making sure our localities are prepared to be competitive for these grants. So utilizing loans from the Maryland Revolving Loan Fund, local governments could technically pull down $750 million of federal grant funding. That's that 75-25 match to turn this into a $1 billion of local resilient infrastructure funding over time. So $25 million initial investment that turns into $250 million in a revolving loan fund, and then can be used to draw down 75-25 matches at the federal level. So the way this would work if I was a locality applying for the fund, let's say we have a project in Baltimore City. There's funding across the Patapsco River in South Baltimore that affects significant infrastructure in the area. The cost of the project will be around $50 million. So Baltimore City applies for a $12.5 million no interest loan through the Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund. MEMA will then assist them in using that loan as a non-federal match for a $37.5 million BRIC grant application. And your locality can now fund a $50 million project using a combination of federal grant funds and a one-time no interest loan from the state through this program, which makes it just a whole lot more accessible for our jurisdictions, particularly for the smaller ones that don't have the cap space in their own budgets to just have that money ready to go on hand. In the Senate, this bill enjoyed the support of State Treasurer Nancy Kopp, the Institute for Sustainable Development, Maryland Association of Counties, the Maryland Legislative Coalition, and the PACE Financial Servicing folks. They're a great small financier of remediation and resiliency projects in the area. This fund will leverage 9 times the amount of funds that we put in, and then it will also help us draw down federal funds. It's a good use of capital expenditures. We believe it's an excellent way to invest the money of the state of Maryland, and I would respectfully request a favorable report for this bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chief of Staff. Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Venkatraman regarding Senate Bill 901? Gentleman from Eastern Shore is recognized. Delegate Grice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what we're going to do is create a loan program for local governments to borrow money from the state in order to leverage federal grant money. Is that correct? Because the local governments don't have enough cash on hand I'm confused here as to what we're actually trying to do.
Yes, Chris, that's absolutely correct. When we spoke with local emergency managers about the difficulty that they had in accessing the BRIC program, they cited two areas of difficulty for them. One was the ability to actually line up the grant applications. There's just a certain amount of logistics. These are large projects that have to be shovel ready prior to their application. MEMA is doing an excellent job of that. So we have some great folks over at the Maryland Emergency Management Administration who are already doing this work. The second thing was having the liquidity to actually say, hey, I have this 25% match. They have to sign an affidavit and show in their operating budgets or in their budget in the next following year that they have allocated that funding. And that has been a point of difficulty for certain jurisdictions across the country and across the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the Appropriations Committee for Senate Bill 901? Seeing none, thank you very much, Chief of Staff, for presenting the bill. Have a great day, and that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 901. The committee will now move to Senate Bill 931. Senator Jackson, Prince George's County School Facilities and Public Safety Surcharges and Reports, Sunset Extensionary Report. On behalf of Senator Jackson, Chairman Barnes, the gentleman from Prince George's County, will be presenting the bill on behalf of Senator Jackson. Chairman Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a local bill. It's a simple extension of our sunset for our school facilities and our public safety surcharge.
Thank you very much, Chairman Barnes. Are there any questions from members of the committee regarding Senate Bill 931? Seeing none, that ends the bill hearing for Senate Bill 931. On behalf of Chairwoman Maggie McIntosh, the House Appropriations Committee, that concludes today's virtual bill hearing. Have a great day.